Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over the water to Denmark once again, and we're going to revisit a brewery who are quite rightly very highly rated amongst Danish craft beer lovers. So we're going to return to Indslev Bryggeri, who are very well known for their wheat beers, and we're going to try a beer from their Ugly Duck Brewing Company range. This one is called Hop Devil. It's a 7.5% IPA brewed with Soriachi Ace, Nelson Sauvin and Citra, so Japanese, New Zealand and American hops in this guy, and this one is rated at 95 on Rate Beer. They've actually got quite a wide range of different IPAs and paleos at Ugly Duck Brewing, but this one seems to be their highest rated one, so this one should be a pretty awesome one for us to try. And a big thank you once again to the guys at Ugly Duck and Indslev Bryggeri for sending me these beers across. They sent me 4 of the Indslev ones, the wheat beers, and they sent me maybe about 10 of the different Ugly Duck ones, so a huge thank you to the guys at the brewery for doing that. Much appreciated, and I hope you guys are enjoying this kind of mini series of Ugly Duck reviews that I'm doing for you. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites for both Indslev and for Ugly Duck. The links to my reviews for both brands are down there as well, and there's all the usual social media, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd. Please follow me on there. Your support would be much appreciated, and to my Danish viewers, I do apologise for any bad Danish pronunciations. I'm still getting trying to get a hang of Swedish, if you like, but Danish will take a little bit longer, as I'm sure you can imagine. But anyway, to tell you about Ugly Duck. So Ugly Duck Brewing, as I mentioned, are one of the brands of beer produced by Indslev Bryggeri, who are based in Nørre Aaby near Middelfart on the island of Fyn in Denmark. If you go to the island where Copenhagen is in the east, that's Sjælland. You go to the next one along to the west, that is Fyn, and Middelfart is in the northwestern part of the island. So the Indslev Bryggeri has roots that trace back to 1897, but they reopened as a modern brewery in 2006, and since 2012 they've also been producing the Ugly Duck Brewing Company beers. And the brewery is owned by Anders Rasmussen, whose great-grandfather Frederick built the brewery on the family farm back in 1897, and both of them actually have grown up on this family farm. So Indslev are interesting because these guys were the first modern brewery in Denmark to specialise in the brewing of wheat beer, and they're still the only brewery in Denmark to do this today. But their desire to brew different beers, mainly influenced by this kind of American craft brewing renaissance that's gone on, was what led them to found the Ugly Duck Brewing Company as a kind of sidearm to that. And as I've told you quite a few times, the Ugly Duck beers are sort of a kind of old school take on American craft beer, if you like. They like to use a lot of the classic American hops, and the beers that they produce are pretty damn good actually. They're good at IPAs, and some of the dark beers that they produce as well are very, very good. But the two brewers at the brewery are Stefan Peter Stadler, who is German. He's from Munich, and he graduated as a brewer from the Hofbräu School, very, very prestigious institution of course, and he's worked in various breweries in Germany and in Denmark. And there's also Torben Steenhold, who previously worked for Velje and Brockhouse breweries. I think Velje is actually just across the water from where these guys are. But the brewery building has been modernised quite recently, and they've got a brew kit from Kasper Schulz in Bamberg in Germany. Bamberg, of course, as you've heard me mention many a time, is a bit of a holy grail of beer when it comes into Germany. One of my good friends lived there, and my whole love of beer started off with these Bamberg Rauch beers, so I absolutely love anything that's associated with Bamberg. So these guys have got quite a big kind of core range of beers. Under the Indslev brand you get various different wheat beers. There's the Sortfade, which is the black wheat, the Svanefede, Spelt Bock, Påskefede, which is their Easter beer, the Julefede, which is the Christmas wheat beer, Fede IPA, which is a very nice one, Fede, which is just the white IPA, there's Fede Bock, which is a Weizen Bock, they also have the Mork Fede, which is a dark one, and they have a lunch beer as well called Frokost. In the Ugly Duck range they also have a very kind of extensive range of beers. There's the Vanilla and Coffee Porter, which is very nice, Hoppy Christmas, Rye Porter, Helmuth Keller Beer, Miami Vice, Simcoe and Chinook IPA, Putin, which is one you'll see me review a bit later on, Nelson Paleo, Ugly Christmas, Hop Devil, which is this guy here, Foxy Brown, which is very nice, Papso in the Tropics, and there's also the Amarillo and Citra IPA, which you saw me review a few videos ago. So as you can see, there's a big range of beers to try from these guys. Pretty much just try one that you like, or try one that you like the sound of, and you probably will like it. These guys produce some really excellent stuff. So let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer now. As I mentioned to you, this is a 7.5% IPA. It's hot with Nelson Sauvin, Citra and Soriachi Ace hops, with a paleo malt base with some caramel malt as well. So it says on the back here, hops are what build this beer and this world. Hops are joy, smiles, bitterness, good foods and good people. This is Rambling. This is an IPA, not just any IPA. This is Hop Devil. What's so devilish about it, you say? We've maxed out our brewing system doing it. When we couldn't put more hops into the kettle, we whirled it out. Then when we did the whole thing a second time and ended up dry hopping it like a motherfucker too. This is Nelson and Citra. This is tropical fruits and citrus aromas. This is pure joy, bottled and brewed at Indslev Bryggeri AS in Denmark. So yeah, this one should be pretty awesome. Just let you have a little quick look at the artwork on this one. This is one of the more simple artworks that you'll find from Ugly Duck Brewing Company. It's quite nicely presented. Plain bottle cap on this one. You can see the bit on the back there that I've just read to you. Product of Denmark, like I said. And this one, it should be really good. You can also see on the bottom here, that is the Indslev Bryggeri symbol there, and that's their parent company, of course. So yeah, it looks very, very nice. So let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting here. So once again, a big thank you to Mike and Anders for sending me these beers. Hugely appreciated. And I tell you something, the quality of these beers is very, very obvious when you try them. They're really very nice. Unfortunately, they also sent me a bottle. They sent me about 10 bottles of these, but I took a rye porter one home with me to Scotland, and a kind of series of errors led to it smashing. So I'm not going to be able to review one of the ones that they sent me. Unfortunately, I need to get another bottle of that. But the ones I've done for you so far, GoldenEye, Amarillo, and Citra, they've all been top quality. So as I said, just pick one of the beers from these guys that you like the sound of, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. So as you can see, this beer has poured a really nice kind of bright orangey amber colour. There's a finger of a frothy white head on this one, quite a few little bubbles sticking to the glass, but quite a lot of other ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there too. You can see there is a degree of transparency, but the colour of the beer is pretty opaque, but it looks very nice. So we'll give it a smell and see how we get on here. Oh, now that is a good smelling IPA. You can really smell the Nelson Sauvin in this one, the kind of gooseberry aromas that you get from that. Just when you're leaving the beer steady like this, you can really smell those nice gooseberry aromas. I've got used to gooseberry because they really like gooseberry cider here in Sweden. You get one of the recorded like gooseberry ciders that you don't get outside of Sweden, and you can really smell these gooseberry aromas from that Nelson Sauvin hop in there. When you sugar it up a bit more, you start to get the other characteristics, so you're getting that distinctive lemony citrus character that you get from the Soriaci Ace. And you start to get some of the tropical fruits that you expect from the Citra hop. The Citra hop, of course, gives you like mangoes, passion fruits. And you can pick up the mangoes in here and the peaches as well. It has a little bit of that kind of dusty, peachy aroma coming out of it. Maybe a little bit of grapefruit, and the passion fruits are in there as well. The passion fruits, of course, they come out a little bit from Nelson Sauvin as well. Nice New Zealand hop, of course. The New Zealand hops really are some of the best around. So the Riwaka hop is one that I remember when I was actually down there. But some really good stuff. But as I say, a nice kind of gooseberry note from the Nelson Sauvin. The typical lemony citrus that you expect of Soriaci Ace. And you can get some of that tropical fruit complexity too. There's a bit of grapefruit, but mangoes and peaches for me. It actually has a nice juicy mango note, and you can get the passion fruits. That will come from Citra and from Nelson Sauvin, like I said. There is a bit of a kind of floral aromaticity and grassy character coming out of this one too, which is quite nice. And one thing you'll notice when you have these Ugly Duck beers, the floral aromaticity that you get in them, it actually comes across as quite dark. And a little bit, I don't know if musky is the right word for it, but there's a very distinctive aroma that you get from these beers, and it must be the actual method that they use for hopping them, because pretty much any of their paleos and IPAs, you'll get this kind of this sort of dark, almost musky floral aromaticity of them. So that's a little bit of a trademark I find when you smell these beers, but the beers all taste pretty damn good, I have to say. But yeah, you can, underneath that, of course, you can smell a little bit of the sweet caramel, and of course there's a bready malt base in there as well from the Pilsner malt. So yeah, as I always say with the beers, take a bit of time to smell them. You will get some good aromas out of these Ugly Duck Brewing Company beers. They're all very, very high quality. So without further ado then, let's get stuck into this beer. As I said, this is their top rated IPA, comes in at 95 on Rate Beer. This is the Hop Devil from Nørre Aaby, Ugly Duck Brewing Company, Indslev Bryggeri in Denmark. Skål! Oh yeah. Now, if you've tried the other Ugly Duck Brewing Company beers, they are all good, but this one tops it. In my opinion, quite easily tops it. This is probably, out of the ones I've tried for you so far, this probably is their best IPA. It's quite easy, and it's not that the other beers are bad or anything like that. The other beers are very good, but for me, this one, I can see why this one is rated better than the other ones. It's just on one sip you can just see it, so just bear with me while I dissect the flavour of this one. if you like these big, bitter and well blended flavour IPAs, then this is one that you're going to like actually. This is very, very nicely done. As I said, I can see why it's so highly rated, and the other beers are good, but for me this one's a bit of a step above the other ones that they do. So yeah, in here there's a lot of things going on. The middle of your palate is just blanketed with this nice bready flavour. On top of that there is a little bit of a kind of cereally, almost biscuity syrup sweetness, and there's a rich caramel that just goes down the middle of the tongue. But of course when it's an IPA, the biggest characteristics of the beer are going to come around the edge of the palate and towards the front, where you get the fruity characteristics, and around the edge of course you get the hoppy elements of the beer. The Nelson Sauvin hop is coming out nicely in this as well. As I said, these gooseberry flavours, you can feel them all around the tongue. They spread around quite a little bit actually. In the back corners of the palate, maybe there's just a little tiny touch of earthiness, but overall it's quite a sort of dark floral aromaticity. As I said, that sort of slightly darker floral aromaticity that you get from Ugly Duck Brewing Company, that's one of their trademarks. There is a little bit of pine resin character to it, but it's not as kind of forthright as some of the pine resins you're going to come across. For me, pine resin is usually just a little bit lighter than that. This one feels a bit more like a dark, spicy floral aromaticity to me, but there is definitely pine resin mixing in there, so it's maybe a combination of the two that gives it this sort of trademark flavour, I would say. Yeah, the things are blending really nicely. As I said, the gooseberry flavours in this kind of spread quite widely around the front of the tongue, quite more wide I guess than that typical oily bubble you get where these fruits come out. But in that oily bubble just that you get behind the front curve of the tongue, you'll feel it just kind of smoothing out. You can pick up the citrusy flavours that you'd expect from Soriace Ace. It's a kind of lemony citrus, not kind of, it doesn't have the kind of juicy character that you expect of orange that you would get from Amarillo for example. But there's grapefruit in there. The passion fruit I think is more prominent than the grapefruit by quite some distance, but you can pick up some of the mangoes and peaches as you start to transition into the aftertaste. You can just feel that slightly more juicy tropical fruit flavour coming out. Yeah, you can feel those just behind the very front part of the tongue. You can feel those just coming out as you start to transition into the aftertaste. It's very nicely done. They actually combine quite interestingly with that gooseberry flavour from the Nelson Sauvin. But as I said, you've got that kind of floral aromaticity that just underpins this beer with the pine resins as well, of course, and that spreads all around your tongue. It's a little bit smoother around the front. Maybe there's an element of grassy flavour in there, but really that slightly darker floral aromaticity with the pine resins in there is dominating the edge of the tongue. But the fruit characteristics in this beer are very nicely done. So I would recommend this beer to people that like if you like Chinook hops, you probably will enjoy this one as well. If you enjoy the big sort of Chinook Centennial kind of beers that you get from the west coast of America, this is probably one that you're going to enjoy as well. It's very nicely done. The fruit character adds another dimension to it, which is quite interesting, but the darker floral aromaticity really shines out in this one. You do notice it a bit more subtly in their other IPAs and pale ales, pardon me, but in this one it is particularly prominent and it's very nicely done. Underneath that as well, we've got a bready malt base. There's some sweet caramel in there, like I was saying, but that's the real, as you would expect when it's an IPA, the real dominating flavour is really the hops in this, but this is very nicely done. As I said, this beer would suit people who like the dark, floral, aromatic and kind of pine resiny IPAs. It really stands out in that regard, and the gooseberry flavours in this one from the Nelson Sauvin are quite notable. These are quite prominent, and of course, I don't know about Denmark, but in Sweden, the gooseberry flavours are really quite well liked amongst the populace, so probably this is them kind of catering to their sort of local, local customers, I guess you could say. But very, very nicely done. In terms of the mouthfeel, this one, definitely mid-bodied. The carbonation is quite smooth. Good oily mouthfeel, as you would expect. When it's 7.5%, it does need to be quite a bit oily. There's a good hoppy bitterness, like I said, in this one. The floral aromaticity, the pine resins in there dominating the flavour. There's a bit of juicy fruit character. The Nelson Sauvin kind of gooseberry flavour is really standing out in this one, and there's a bit of sweet malty character too. But the malty character is actually quite it's kind of overpowered a little bit by the hops, but when it's an IPA like this, and especially when it's called Hop Devil, you would expect that from this beer. But overall, it's another very, very strong beer from Ugly Duck Brewing Company. This is a very good one. This is probably my favourite IPA that I've tried from them so far. I've tried a couple of the Pale Ales and a couple of the IPAs, but this one for me stands out quite nicely. Do I like it better than the Imperial Vanilla Coffee Porter? That's quite hard to say because they are the very, very different beers. The Imperial Vanilla Coffee Porter was very, very nice. So I really enjoy vanilla flavours, but this one is another very, very solid beer. So definitely one of my top two, or maybe top 2 or 3, I guess you could say, from Ugly Duck, because the Fada IPA from Indslev Bryggeri is another very, very nice one, a very good favourite of mine as well, actually, from Denmark. So yeah, as I said, just with this brewery and with the Indslev beers as well, if you enjoy the wheat beers, try the Indslev ones, but if you like the more American style beers, go to Ugly Duck and really just pick a beer that you like, and I'm sure if you pick a style that you want, you will enjoy them. They produce some really top quality stuff. This is probably the best IPA that they do in my opinion, and it's very, very nice. So yeah, as always, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Please let me know your own thoughts on it in the comments section below. It's always interesting to hear from you guys, and until the next one, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out my social media things, but most importantly, go and check out the Indslev wheat beers and go and check out the Ugly Duck Brewing Company beers. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you soon. I do have a couple more beers to review from Ugly Duck before I finish the ones they sent me, and you will see some more Indslev ones fairly soon as well. Slàinte just now, and I'll catch you soon. Cheers.